like meetings, but I don't have students until the 8th, and we're starting virtually. So it'll all be online the first 4 to 6 weeks.
Okay, and then after that, you think that is the point where families and parents cry uncle?
It's such a bizarre situation. I really don't know how things are going to go. I kind of feel like it will be a little bit longer, especially because now this area is really peaking in cases. And Buffalo is such a big district, so they have to have a lot in place before they can send everyone back safely, you know? So I guess it's just kind of a waiting game. We have to see how things go, what pans out.
Yeah. So yesterday, so at Kangaroo Time, we're a software and we help our early education schools collect payments. We've been growing super fast since the pandemic, and we are so thrilled that we can. The pandemic was kind of an accelerant for us because I think it gave our centers a little time to kind of slow down and realize, okay, if we leverage software here, it could really help us. Right. So we've grown, but average attendances are down around 20 to 30%, depending on regionality. Yeah, some families are just not coming back. But yesterday marked day before yesterday, it was our highest ever day in volume of payments. So that means that families are coming back. So like we had hit our peak, we're growing super fast over the last few years. We hit our peak in payment volume in January. And in February, it went down because there are a few less days in the month, and it was significant. And in March, it was down to like 60%. April was down to 29%.
Wow.
So the early educators and the educators that are joining us talk about a cross-section of a population that's had to be super durable and has been deemed essential. And so hi, everybody. I can see many of you are joining. We're so glad to have you here. I have Hailey Glynn on with me. Hailey is here to chat about the new normal, and she's a self-published author. So we're going to be talking about her adorable book. And by the way, Hailey, I listened to your book. There was a reading on YouTube from one of your counterparts, and God, it just took me back. By the way, I'm a child in a family where my mom read to us constantly. She cut the TV off, and we read the Laura Ingalls Wilder series as a family.
I love that.
And that like audible connection. I love readings. I just think there's so much cognitive development to be had.
Absolutely.
So Hailey, let me just kind of set this up. We're going to chat here for the next 30 to 45 minutes.
Yeah, sounds good.
I'll do a quick introduction. So some of you know me. I understand you have a huge following, but so for those of you that don't know me, my name is Scott Wayman. I'm the CEO and founder at Kangaroo Time. We create software for childcare centers, as I was talking about earlier. The first thing that we decided to tackle as a company was we felt like there was this automation flywheel that could be built for early education schools so that we could completely take the most important resources at a center out of administrative duties. So the day that our customers spin up Kangaroo Time, our goal is that is the last day that they spend any significant time in the revenue cycle, in billing, on HR, collecting documents. So we really try to automate the business. Really, one of the things I've seen in your social media presence, and by the way, you do such a great job on social. I'm so impressed.
Thank you.
You're in grade 1 for our early educators. Classroom management is like herding cats. These people have to be of the highest fluid intelligence on the planet. They have to pick up rule sets super fast. and then they've got to they have the burden in the classroom of documenting. So we've built tools that we call point of care or rooming, because they help the teacher with an app inside the room. I see what on your Instagram presence, you do a ton of class prep, and I love your resources.
Thank you.
So can you tell me about how you got started, and give me a little bit of your history? You're a first grade teacher at Buffalo Public Schools. So tell us about your journey into getting into the classroom, and then we'd love to hear about how you decided to publish and what happened.
It has been a wild few years, that is for sure. So it's actually funny. So my mom's also a teacher. She teaches high school biology. And my whole life, so I'm the oldest of 3 kids. And I just have like a nurturing nature. So my whole life, people have been telling me, Hailey, you should be a teacher. You're going to be a teacher. And I was kind of like, oh, no, don't tell me what to do. Like, I want to find my own way, you know? So I went to Syracuse University for my undergrad, where I did international relations and Spanish. And that's a beautiful world. But it's when I started getting into the actual jobs, I realized that there wasn't much autonomy. There wasn't that much room for creativity, which I was craving. So I immediately went back to grad school and got my master's in childhood education. And during that time that I was going to get my master's, I had gotten a long-term sub position teaching high school Spanish. And I loved it. It was so much fun. I really connected with the kids. It was in Buffalo Public Schools. And I was like, oh, maybe I should have gone for high school education instead. But then I did my student teaching in grade 1, which I'm in now. And I just completely fell in love. Like the curriculum, the kids, just their energy. It was just so much fun, honestly. And so I was hired from my student teaching in grade 1, and I've been in grade 1 ever since. And it has just been, it's just so fun. I absolutely adore my job, which is great.
So for you, I think a lot of the, all of the content that I saw in the book was kind of like shaping and scoping the worldview for this first grader that is, that's seeing the new normal. So going back to March, let's talk about what happened with your journey and how you immediately saw transitioning your class to, let's say, the new normal with e-learning.
Right. So our last day that we were actually in class was a Friday the 13th, funny enough. And that's when they pushed us to virtual learning. So from March to June, we were virtual. And right in the beginning, I mean, it was brand new to everyone. Nobody knew, how are we going to tackle this? How are we going to reach the kids? How are we going to help them understand it? And it was kind of just a whirlwind. So I was talking to a lot of my friends and family members, and no one could wrap their head around it. And I was like, if the adults, myself included, are having such a hard time comprehending this totally unprecedented thing that we're dealing with, I cannot even imagine how my students are feeling, having been ripped away from their routine, their friends, you know what I mean? And like, kids thrive on routine, on knowing what's next, on knowing what to expect. So my mom was like, Hailey, you should write a book for your students. And I've always liked writing, and I like to draw and whatnot. So I just kind of did it. And looking back, it was such a crazy few weeks. People are like, how did you do it so fast? I'm like, I wish I had the answer to that question. I don't know. It like consumed my life for a few weeks there. But it was really fun. So I wrote it. I had a few friends and family members help me edit it through. And then I illustrated it, which was really fun because as I was writing it, I had these ideas in my mind of what I wanted it to look like for the kids. And it was cool to be able to bring that to life, you know?
Hailey, I noticed the illustrations are they're adorable. So, where do you rate yourself as an artist, and what was your process for getting each image to the page?
So I have a copy of it here. I can just
Yes, yeah,
kind of.
that's a must. I'm gonna like demand that you do some reading for us.
Yeah, I totally will, just so you can get a little idea. But and people were asking me, they were like, did you create a few characters and then pick which one you wanted to be the character? I was like, no, it kind of just flowed out. I was like, oh, this is what I want the main character to represent. And I kind of went with like a color scheme. So it's really like fun, bright colors that will appeal to the kids. And the words are rhyming. So just to kind of catch and keep their engagement. But yeah, no, so the illustrating part actually took the longest part of creating the book, like bringing it to fruition. It took me like a solid 2 weeks to illustrate it, I'd say. I'd wake up in the morning and be like, okay, I'm going to do page 3, 4, and 5 today. I'm going to get those illustrations done, and then I'll tweak them tomorrow and work on the next page. So, yeah, that was a fun process as well.
Hailey, so I got a question. I need you to do something for me. I want you to do this and put your hands together. Do this. Tell me which thumb is on top.
Left.
Okay. That means you are right-brained.
Okay.
I think that means you are a creative, like you are a quote creative. So you think with your right brain. Don't know if that's valid at all. I heard on a podcast.
Now I have to go look, right?
Yeah. So as a teacher, that's obviously clinically right-brained, as diagnosed by me right now.
So it's official.
Yeah, me too. I'm total right-brainer. I love product. I love thinking through problems. And the artistic side of things. So as an educator, how often in your day-to-day do you get to express that creative side of you?
Oh, daily, every single day. I mean, we do experiments, we do like craft projects that we tie into writing or math. I make a lot of the resources that we use in the classroom because I'm very particular about how I like things for my students. So I get to use that creative piece all the time. And then even after the kids go home, if I'm like doing a bulletin board or a display, my whole classroom is like my second home. So I'm constantly like switching things up, or I'll see something at a store, like, oh, that would be really great to have here. So it kind of pulls from a lot of different creative aspects being a teacher, if you want it to.
Yeah. So you said you were kind of, as you started writing and you started illustrating, you went into, I guess, a flow state. How long was that process? Because the book launch was when? In April or May?
The very last day of May was the first day that it was like available to the public.
Interesting. So from front to back, how long did it take?
So I like kind of got the idea right at the end of March. So it took me probably about a month to put it together. And then I had to format it and figure out how to publish it and upload it. That was a whole new world to me as well. So you can go either the self-publishing route or the traditional route where you like have an agent and you go with a publishing house, but that's typically a much longer process. And this is very time-sensitive content. I wanted to get it out to my students, obviously. So I went with the self-publishing route. So then I did some research there, and then a lot of things erupted with the Black Lives Matters movement, and so I was like, this is not my time. And so then at the end of May, I kind of like did a little video about it on my social media, and I tied it into the Black Lives Matters movement. So the main character of the book is African American, and I donated the whole first month of proceeds to organizations that fight racism and discrimination. So that's how I kind of launched the book, and then it kind of just took off. I feel like a lot of educators, because we didn't know how the coronavirus is going to pan out. I think a lot of people kind of thought that it was going to pass by this time, and we're still here. So the start of school year, I think a lot of educators kind of picked up on it and thought, obviously you have to address it with your students somehow, right? You can't just ignore this virus. It's something that is hard to wrap our heads around, yes, but it's important to open that dialogue. So I think a lot of people kind of use the book to open the flow of conversation, open the dialogue with their students.
Yeah. So with that, I think for many of us adults with somewhat fully developed cognitive faculties, the tough part is understanding this concept of, there is no end point, there is no defined end date. As an educator, getting this like filter of the world shown to you through the eyes of a first grader, what tips can you offer fellow teachers and administrators for helping to quell those fears?
I would say it's very important to validate their feelings. So rather than just saying, it's going to be fine, let them talk, let them express what they're feeling, ask them why they're feeling like that. And then maybe have them like talk to a friend about it. So just kind of validating those things. It's okay to feel like that. It's okay to feel scared, but it's also okay so like the main message of the book, I would say, is it's okay to be scared, but just because it's a scary time doesn't mean that you have to be scared all the time. It is also okay to find things that make you happy, to find joy in things during a scary time. So I would say, as far as quelling the fear within children, during this time, validate their feelings, listen to them, allow them to talk about it, answer their questions. And then as far as advice to keep yourself sane during this time, believe in yourself and don't be too hard on yourself. Like, I feel like there's this constant pressure to do more. You feel like you're not doing enough. This is a new time for everyone, and whatever you're doing is enough. And if you're helping your students in any way, that's honestly magnificent. So just don't be too hard on yourself. Do what you can, and know that it's appreciated.
So I noticed there are a few themes in the book, and I think you used a few bits that are brilliant. Knowing that my inner first grader loves to see words like "but," which is a pun.
Yeah.
But in the book.
That page is a fan favorite. You have no idea how many readers have reached out and been like, my child likes to read, like, this is the favorite page. Someone sent me a video yesterday of their child reading that page, and his sister was sitting next to him just cracking up as soon as he said but.
Should we show the page? Should we show it real quick? Okay, your cohort that read it, I wish I knew her name. She said, she read it, and then she said, "That's a funny word." She whispered it, and I kept thinking, all the mechanisms are there. You've deployed all the right attention.
So we can read that page. So here, let me see if I can get the illustration for you. Is that better? Okay. Yeah. So Mary Ellen saw a rainbow and ran out to play. She wouldn't let this nasty virus ruin her fun day. She played a new game called Strut, 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 where she kicked Verona's butt. And so this page is kind of like towards the end when Mary Ellen, the main character, has kind of like sorted through all of her feelings and trying to understand all of the social distancing, wearing a mask, virtual learning. And she's kind of come to this realization at the end. She's like, you know what? It's a scary time, but it doesn't have to ruin my day every day. So That's that page.
Hailey, any like world earth shattering great tips you've seen or had? I mean, like if you look at context, you've already closed out a school year. The crescendo to a great school year was so different for so many first graders that you had direct linear contact with. And then you're rolling into a new one. Any earth-shattering moments or tips, or I don't even care if it's a drive-by taco time or whatever it is. Anything like that you'd like to share?
So what do you mean? Like anything fun?
You guys do anything special other than just kind of helping to process or write a book? Any other tips?
So one thing that I did with my students when we were virtual was we did every Monday, we would do like a cell, so like social emotional meeting, and there were no academics involved, so there was no pressure on the kids. And one of the biggest pieces that they're missing from not being in school is that interaction with their peers. So we would meet on Zoom, and there would be like a theme of the day, and I would do a quick like social emotional piece. Maybe we would all do like a little bit of yoga together or something along those lines. And then I would give them time to talk to me, and then I would stay on to monitor, but I would just let them talk to themselves, like talk amongst themselves. And it was really great to see because they miss each other. I mean, they're friends, you know what I mean? And they want to talk about their day or their bike or their dog or who knows, they fell and scraped their knee that morning. And it's important for them to be able to express that to people their age as well. So that's something that was really, honestly beautiful to see them still so excited to see each other, and a really important non-academic piece that we did.
So are you extroverted? Or I always ask because you appear to be, but I think we're all a little more nuanced than what we appear.
So I would say that I'm an introverted extrovert. Like I love talking to people. I love being in crowds, but I also do enjoy my downtime. And I do enjoy like my creative time where I just kind of like log off from the world and do my own thing. But I definitely love interaction with other people. I love collaborating with others. I think that's always really fun. So yeah, a little bit of both, I guess.
Yeah, no. So does this suit you, or do you I mean, we know that the social emotional connections are such a valuable part in the interactions and that innate need for community. What tips do you have in trying to create that other than letting children see each other or something that you've already mentioned? Where have you really leaned in there?
So on the social emotional bit?
Yeah.
So like within a classroom, there's two things that I do in my classroom that I think are very valuable. One thing that I do in my classroom is I have what's called a calm down corner. I have like a little canopy, and there's a yoga mat over there, and there are like manipulatives that the kids can use to calm their mind or whatnot. And there are timers. So what I do in my classroom is I introduce it. And so this is the thing, like when you're teaching kids, you have to be immensely explicit. You have to model everything. And so we introduce this just like we would any lesson in the beginning of the year. This is the calm down corner. This is what it's used for. And you kind of teach the kids when is an okay time to go over to the calm down corner and when they might feel the need. So if a child is having a particularly rough day, they'll say, Miss Glynn, can I go to the calm down corner? And I have a 3-minute timer and a 5-minute timer. So my mindset is, even if it's in the middle of an ELA lesson, if a child is acknowledging the fact that they're having a hard time paying attention, something else is running rampant in their mind, they need that time to cool off, recollect. If it's 5 minutes, if they miss 5 minutes of an ELA lesson, if they come back and they're ready to learn and they're with me the rest of the day, amazing. It's It's totally worth it. And you know when the kid is over there. So if it's something crucial that they're missing, there's no reason why you can't catch them up later. And it's also just a great space for kids to kind of feel safe. And if they're going through something traumatic in their life, it's a place where they can feel calm and safe and validated. So that's one thing that I do for social emotional health in my classroom. Another thing that I do, which kind of touches more on relationships amongst peers, is we have what's called a peace couch. Now I have a little couch in my classroom. So if you didn't have a couch, you could have like a peace chair or a peace rose, something that maybe the kids hold to solve their problems. So the basis of the peace couch is obviously in first grade, there are many issues between the kids. They get upset over so-and-so touched me, so-and-so cut me in line, so-and-so doesn't like my shoes, you know what I mean? So you teach them, rather than solving the problem for them or brushing it under the rug or doling out punishments, none of those things are really getting to the root of the problem or teaching the children how to solve their own problems. So again, this is something that's facilitated and taught in the beginning of the year. You teach them the dialogue, you teach them how to respect someone else when they're talking, even if they're upset. So they'll go, Johnny asks Kara to the peace couch because Kara doesn't like Johnny's shoes. So they would go to the peace couch and Johnny would say, I feel. So that's a content that we use a lot. So Johnny would say, Kara, I feel sad that you don't like my shoes. And Kara would say, I'm sorry, Johnny, I shouldn't have said that. I won't say it again. So it's kind of addressing that future bit as well. And then we have like morning greetings. They pick a greeting. They can like fist bump. Obviously, now it's different because of COVID, but air high five, whatever greeting they choose. And some people are like, you're crazy. 6-year-olds can't solve their problems. But if you teach, and in the beginning of the year, it's rough. They want to talk over each other. They don't want to say sorry. But I mean, if kids aren't taught this, they're never going to learn how to do it. So from the beginning of the year to the end of the year, the progress is incredible. Even this past year, so we went out in March. Before we went out, I had kids that would say to me after recess, they got into a little tiff. And we went right from recess to lunch. Can we have a peace couch in the lunchroom right before lunch? I would say, sure. Oh, wow. People over there. And they don't even need me. And then they're completely fine. They move on. They talk about their problem. So is it immediate? Did they learn how to do this all within September? No, of course not. You have to teach. You have to reiterate. You have to give them the modeling. You have to show them that it works. But it does work with consistency. And it's incredible to see 6-year-olds solve their problem by simply talking about it, being able to say, I'm sorry, which is really hard for a lot of kids, a lot of people, honestly. So that's something that I learned that has gone really, really well in my classroom as well.
So are you doing all that? So is the peace couch, is that a Zoom concept yet? Have you digitized that yet?
So I haven't digitized it. I haven't needed to because the kids don't interact with each other as much, you know? So they don't really like get into tiffs with one another because they're all just at their own home, you know what I mean? But in the classroom, when they're like on top of each other all day long, that's when the little tiffs kind of appear, and it's important to teach them to work through them.
It's great. So I'm going to circle back to the book. So have you actually seen it in it's a bookstore or Barnes and Nobles?
Yes, I have, and it was immensely exciting. So I did not even know that it was in Barnes and Noble, and a reader reached out to me and they were like, I just got messages from readers are my favorite thing, by the way. I read every single one of them. I gush over them. I just absolutely love them. It's so cool to make those connections. Anyways, a reader reached out and said, oh my gosh, I just got your book in Barnes and Noble. I absolutely love it. Like, thank you, whatever. And I was like, in Barnes and Noble or on barnesandnoble.com?
Yeah.
And they were like, no, in Barnes and Noble. I was like, oh my goodness. And so I asked her which Barnes and Noble. She happened to be from Buffalo, which was even cooler. And it was the one in by Niagara Falls Boulevard. And so I went, and there was like a whole stack of the hardcover book in they're like under the kids books kids will love display.
And you do the casual, like standing by the book, watching to see if anybody opened it up.
No, we didn't stay in the store that long. And I had asked them, I was like, do you ever do like author visits or read alouds? I would love to do that. It would be so fun. But right now they're not doing anything like that because of COVID. They're not trying to like gather crowds, which makes sense. But in the future, that would be something that would be really cool. And then it's also awesome. A few local bookstores. One of my teacher friends lives in South Buffalo, and she sent me a picture. I don't know if you know Dog Ears Books and Cafe. I think that's what it's called. But she sent me a picture of a stack of my books there, and I was like, oh my gosh, that's just so cool to see. Like locally, it's in stores, the physical copies. It's a really, really cool feeling.
Hailey, one of the things I saw when I watched the reading of your book was that the very beginning, there's a personalized experience. You kind of like, you sign the book, and I thought that was cool. Any thoughts as to the origin there?
Wait, what's the question?
So wondering, like, I thought it was a brilliant move that you could have people sign in the book, because this was their Corona experience.
Oh, yes. Okay. I thought that's what you were asking, but I just wanted to clarify. So, yes, let's see if we can pull this up. So we have, is this the page you're talking about?
Exactly, yeah. And when the reader said, 40 years from now, you can look back at this and it will provide you context.
Yes, because we really are living through history, right? And like anybody who even has like children during this time, to have this like physical thing to look back on. So it says, this book belongs to, you can write your name. During the coronavirus pandemic, I was blank years old. I spent my time, what did you do during quarantine? I was quarantined with my brother, my family, my grandparents, whatever it may be. So just to kind of like be able to look back and be like, oh yeah, I did do a lot of that during quarantine, or oh yeah, I spent a lot of my time with so-and-so during quarantine, or oh my gosh, I was only like 6 years old during the coronavirus pandemic. That's so wild. You know what I mean? And it's a space that they can actually write in. So to see their own handwriting too, if you have like the kids fill it out, is really neat.
I think it's so brilliant. I think there are these signature moments in growing up, you know. For me, it was 9/11, you know, and the world immediately changed. And had I been quite a bit younger, a resource like this helping me to verbalize and really absorb that social emotional concept, and then to have kind of the context and history is brilliant.
Yeah, and that's another thing. Like, kids' minds obviously work very different than the adult mind. So just having a main character, like having a character in your mind to relate to, just to know that you're not alone, you know, or even like because when you're a child, you're like, a virus? What is a virus? You can't see it. You can't catch it. I mean, you know what I mean? Like, it's just kind of something difficult to comprehend. So putting it in a story in a way that kids can comprehend it, so then when they hear other people talking about it, they can make those connections and know what to think. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. No, the concept of like our world has changed. Hailey, your book, it's available on Amazon. Corona Came to Town. We've got the link here. Hi, Josie, one of our loyal viewers is on. Good to see you. She says she's watching from her classroom.
Oh my gosh, how cool.
So hey, I guess we'll close up. I want to thank you so much. Any last words before we part ways? I've loved this.
I've loved this too. It's so fun to connect with others. Oh, what would I say? I mean, believe in yourself, hang in there. We're all in it together. I'm rooting for all of you. Feel free to connect with me. I love messages. I love making those connections, collaborating on any level. So yeah, just let me know and know that you're appreciated in whatever you're doing.
Awesome. So Hailey, thank you so much. From one, in my heart Buffalonian to another.
I was going to say from one right range to another.
Yes, exactly. From one right
like everyone
range
at home is now doing this.
to another. Thank you so much. We will be in touch. I think I've got an idea. I think every parent, the hundreds of thousands of parent on the Kangaroo Time parent app, they need to know about your book. So let's run some texts or some tests on who orders. I think every child in the country needs to be oriented with when Corona came to town. So thank you so much. Really appreciate the time.
Happy to be here. Seriously. Thank you for having me.
Have a good one. Thank you.
Bye, guys. Thanks for coming on.